In this problem, we've got a string wrapped around a disk. The disk is allowed to rotate through a hub at its center. And we tied a block to the end of that string. And as the block falls, we have a transfer of gravitational potential energy into two different places. And one of them is the translational kinetic energy of the block itself. And the other is the rotational kinetic energy of this heavy disk. So the disk is forced to spin as the block unwinds the string. So I'm going to call the initial height of the block y initial, and that's equal to 1 meter. And I'm putting a reference point down here where y final is equal to 0. So expressing conservation of energy, E initial equals E final. In my initial state, nothing is moving, but my block has a higher y coordinate. And so that's sort of our source of energy for the whole problem. So I can write mass of the block, g times the initial y coordinate of the block. And at the end of the problem, everything is kinetic energy. I have rotational in the disk and translational in the block. So I have, for the disk, 1/2 I omega squared. And for the block, 1/2 mass of the block v squared. Now, one of the tricks on a problem like this is you have to relate the translational speed of the block to the rotational speed of the disk. And the way I like to argue it is that the block is moving at a speed of v, therefore the string is moving at a speed of v. That means the string is moving at a speed of v even right where it's detaching from the disk, and therefore the edge of the disk must be moving at a speed of v. And then I can make an argument like this. If I just draw a circle real quick. Again, the string is moving at a speed of v, but it's not slipping on the disk, so the edge of the disk must be moving at a speed of v. And if that's true, we have a little formula relating these things. So the speed at the edge of the disk is the same as the speed of the mass itself, and that's v, and it's related to the rotational velocity with v equals r omega. In other words, omega equals v over r. And that's the way I'm going to solve this. I'm going to replace omega with v over r. In the next step, I'm also going to put in the formula for the moment of inertia of a disk, which is 1/2 mr squared. So mass of the block, g y initial, is 1/2 times 1/2 mass of the disk, radius of the disk squared, times omega squared, but that's going to be v over radius of the disk, all squared, plus 1/2 mass of the block, speed of the block squared. And something interesting happens here. The radius of the disk cancels out. So it doesn't even matter what the radius of the disk is. You're going to get the same result either way. And I'll clean things up a little bit. And I get 1/4 mass of the disk, v squared, plus 1/2 mass of the block, v squared. And I can factor out the v squared. So I end up with a v squared times 1/4 mass of the disk plus 1/2 mass of the block. And I may as well multiply both sides by 4. And I end up with a 4 mass of the block g y initial equals v squared times mass of the disk plus twice the mass of the block. And then I'll solve for v symbolically. And it's the square root of 4 mass of the block g y initial over mass of the disk plus twice the mass of the block. And I'll just plug my numbers in there. And I've got 4 times 1 kilogram, g is 9.8, initial height was 1 meter. All divided by the mass of the disk, which is 5, and then twice the mass of the block, which was 1. And I end up with 2.37 meters per second. Now that's just part of the answer. I wanted the speed of the 1 kilogram mass. I also want the angular velocity of that disk. So I'm going to go back and use omega equals V over R to get that. So that's 2.37 over 0.2, which gives me 11.8 radians per second.